Good morning. Welcome to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Amy Papadoupolo, and it is my honor to lead meditation this morning. So I invite you, take a deep breath. And let it go. Focus for a moment on your breathing. Allowing the breath to come in and to go back out. And notice if there are any thoughts that are going through your mind. And as you have thoughts, because your brain produces them, let them go. You can put that thought on a cloud and watch it waft away. You can put it in a balloon and let it go. And after letting those thoughts go, bring your awareness back to your breath. Being. In this eternal presence right now. Surrender to the eternal presence. A presence and a power that is greater than our own awareness. A presence and a power that we all have access to. It's the same presence and power that Jesus had access to and knew how to use. For he was not the great exception, but rather the great example. That eternal presence and eternal power is who we are. This eternal presence is what beats your heart, what breathes your breath. That eternal presence is the animating source of life. It is God. This presence of God is real. It is as real as the sunshine. It is life. It is you. Surrender to that eternal presence that is closer than your breath. And as we go into the silence, I invite you to surrender even deeper. Surrender and open and allow that infinite, eternal presence It is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The divine presence is right where you are. As we surrender to the eternal presence, this presence and power that is greater than our own awareness, we are given and we accept great spiritual healing power. It is not I, but the Father within that doeth the work. And greater works than these shall you do. When you are ready, if you'd like to move your hands around, move your feet around, and when you're ready, open your eyes. Namaste.
Square. So do you have the app downloaded?
No, but I can go with my phone and do it right now.
It might be easier because my phone times out and it's fingerprint. It's Jenny's. I don't know. It's still in. I don't know. I don't use it. I use my phone.
Yeah, actually, you can.
It's square up and it's got a like a
Square.
I'm not sure what you did. And you barely put your stone. Here's what it looks like.
The black one or the green one?
This is the one I have.
Yeah, the black one. That's it.
What the hell can we get?
Go again. It's the same line that she said one. It's both on the same side. The good thing is that they won't have to do any of that. But it's like that.
Are you leaving? Well, I was thinking about it. It wouldn't do any good. Oh, okay, now I'm gonna give you the password. It's my, I'll show you. And feel free to uninstall it as soon as you're done. So you don't take up memory. Oh, yeah. He also drove around and do some.
Good morning, everyone. How was meditation? Peaceful? Okay. It's my guitar, Amanda. Can you guys hear my guitar? Okay. No?
Are you all set?
So you'll be signing using your input.
Here is where signing is my work email. So draw that out.
like a thief from my past. I turn on the light by remembering only my soul knows my path. And I'm getting good at letting go, yeah, getting good at giving it over, 'cause I know it ain't in my hands. I'm getting good at letting go, yeah, getting good at giving it over, 'cause I know, though I do not understand, my soul's always got something better planned, and I am unburdened. Yes, I am free when I believe it. If I just keep trusting, if I keep the faith, I know I'll see. But I let go, and I know when I let go, and I know that my soul is always God. Yes, my soul's always God. Oh, my soul's always God. Something better planned. Yeah. Something better is coming along.
Good morning. Welcome to Columbus Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Kimmy Evans, and I am a professionally licensed CSL practitioner, and I'll be giving you the announcements today. A huge thank you to everyone joining us today in person and on our Facebook page for meditation and Sunday celebration. Thank you all for participating in our survey. The results are in, and many of you want to come back in person. We heard what you have had to say, and we'll be holding in-person services through September. The in-person dates are July 11th, July 25th, August 8th, August 22nd, September 5th, and September 19th. The Sundays in between, we will be meeting virtually on Zoom. Watch your CCSL newsletter for reminders in the Zoom link. The Core Council wants to remind members that if they would like to join a Core Council meeting, you are more than welcome. They're held on the third Sunday of each month. Just reach out to one of the Core members for the link. If you have a suggestion or feedback, email them to ccslsuggestionbox@gmail.com. If you would like prayer after service or anytime throughout the week, you can find our prayer practitioners on our website, columbuscsl.org, or you can submit a prayer request on our Facebook page. And obviously, we're always outside after service. That's the news for the day. Let's all stand and sing our opening song.
That's a hard part of that song. I always have to look at the screen. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the Columbus Center for Spiritual Living, to our in-person, one of our hybrid services here this summer. It's so nice to see all of you, and happy Father's Day to all of you who are fathers. Happy Father's Day, Dad. And all of you who have served in fatherly roles. Happy Father's Day. So my name is Reverend Amy Papadopoulou, and I am the minister here as we wait for our for our next senior minister. We are looking for one of those right now. So I'd like to say hello to the online watchers. Good morning. Please feel free to share our live stream on your own Facebook page. We're glad you're here with us virtually. And also, if you're watching at a later time, thank you for coming back and watching our service this morning. We will put this service on our YouTube channel later on, and that's a Columbus CSL YouTube channel. So please read our mission statement with me. We serve the transformation of individual lives through education, spiritual practice, and deep community using spirit and science-aligned principles as our compass. So I'd like to thank myself for the meditation this morning. Fantastic job, Reverend Amy. Thank you very much.
You go, girl.
Now I'd like to reintroduce Tammy Evans, our practitioner today. Tammy. We now begin our sacred service. A reading from Creative Mind and Success by Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes. In practice, the emancipated soul must always realize that he is in union with the Father. What the Father does, he can do in his own life. What God is, he can become. His word must be spoken with absolute authority. He must know. There should be no uncertainty. The word is the only power. Everything must come from it, and nothing can stand against it. It is the great weapon which he is to use against all evil and for all good. Now let the music take us within. Spirit is a changeless reality. It was the same yesterday, it is the same today, and again tomorrow. The thing itself is love, light, and freedom. Spirit is free, and so is our birthright to be free. Its nature is light, so we are infused with light. Spirit created us in its own image as love. Today, claim a flow to our love and light, knowing that as when we leave here today, we are love, we are the light. We have no lack or limitations. Love points the way and law makes it possible. Let us all celebrate that which provides not only light, but the love and freedom that we claim as Spirit expressing through us, in us, as us.
I claim ease, peace, and flow to our center's idea of creating a world that works for everyone. Gratitude fills me today as I release us into the law that's already said yes and is creating a world that includes love, light, and freedom. I let it go. I let God. And please join me and say, and so it is.
Thing away. And I can reassure you that through it all, I'm gonna stay. Ooh, I'm gonna stay. Ooh, I'm gonna stay. Ooh, I'm gonna stay. Ooh, and I love you, darling, whether or not you believe that I do. Oh, and I love you, sugar, so open up and receive what I'm giving you. Oh, and all this darkness is just a feeling, and it's feelings that make you grow. And when we're growing, it means we're healing, making our way to where you let resistance go. And I can show you the way. And I can reassure you that through it all, I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay.
Jesse, you have the voice of an angel. Thank you for that. So good morning.
Good morning.
I'm going to start out like we often do on Father's Days and Mother's Days and say Happy Father's Day and to ask you to speak your fathers and your grandfathers and even if you'd like to your great-grandfathers' names into the room.
Dad.
I always think that's kind of a sweet ritual we do because it kind of brings up the energy of our fathers, kind of brings them into the room. I always think that's sweet. So there's a lot to talk about today. Father's Day is here. Yesterday was Juneteenth, our new national holiday. So I want to talk about that. And then tomorrow, I believe it's tomorrow, is the summer solstice. So there's a lot to talk about today. And as I was looking at my talk, I was thinking, what is the theme that was going through here? And as I've been writing these talks and doing these talks, sometimes what happens is Spirit will drop something in, which I'm learning to trust. And so as I was sitting up here listening to Jesse, what Spirit dropped in was, I went to a drag show this past week. So some friends of mine and I went to this little dive bar and went to a drag show and talk about freedom. Wow. Those men, women, drag queens. It was amazing. It was the first time I'd ever been to a drag show. I highly recommend it. It is liberating, it is fun, and it is just for the pure enjoyment. It's just freedom. Freedom. And I think that really is the key here. We're talking about Juneteenth, the summer solstice, talking about Father's Day. And Ernest Holmes, in one of our declarations of principles, said that emancipation from all discord is sure to be attained by all. And that's what we practice, and that's what we teach here. One of the things I like to do is talk about practical spirituality. What can you actually take from this teaching that you can actually put into your life today to make your life better? To emancipate yourself from, typically it's the thoughts, right? It's the negative thoughts. It's the limiting thoughts. We also teach here, like Tammy talked about when she opened her prayer, which was perfect. I'm just so spot on with the words that I have today as well, is that we teach, believe, and practice that spirit is a changeless reality. That spirit doesn't change. It's the same yesterday, like Tammy told us, it's the same today, and it's the same as tomorrow. And it loved each of us so much that it created all life. Spirit is free. And because it created us out of itself, we too have to be free. Spirit's nature is light, and therefore each one of us is light. We have those God qualities within us. And although we come from one creator, often as we are human, rephrase this, we have a unique individualism. We have a unique expression of that one. And that is part of this freedom to express in our own unique ways. So an awareness of freedom. God created humans in its own image and likeness, right? We know that, the Bible tells us that. And also, it created us in its own image and likeness for us to express our own individual love and joy. No one can ever take away our freedom. And there are no limits or limitations to our thoughts, and therefore we cannot be bound. So yesterday, Juneteenth, as some of you might know because I have said it before, I went to college to be a history teacher. And I was a history teacher in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I taught American history, and we never taught Juneteenth. As a history teacher, I didn't even know about Juneteenth. So this is something new that's come up. I was talking to a friend, and she's like, I've never even heard of it. I mean, it's been like 3 or 5 years ago that I've just started hearing about this. And I love that we have this new holiday. I love that we can honor something in our past and we can celebrate it. So for those of you who don't know what Juneteenth is or may have some idea of what Juneteenth is, it was January 1st, I might have the month wrong, but was it January 1st? Jim's nodding his head, or January 1st. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln gave the Emancipation Proclamation. The South has seceded from the North, became their own country with their own capital and with their own president. This is a history teacher in me. And what happened was when the South surrendered and Abraham Lincoln spoke or gave the Emancipation Proclamation, down in Texas, the enslaved, notice that's a different word that we use today. We used to say slaves. Now we use enslaved people. The enslaved people did not get that message. They didn't get the message for another 2 years. So the people the enslaved people down in Texas remained in slavery, even though the other people around the country, the enslaved people, were no longer enslaved. June 19th marks the day when the Union soldiers made it down to Texas and told the enslaved people that they were no longer enslaved because slavery was outlawed. So that is what Juneteenth is for. And how far we have come as a country, how far we've come as a people to be able to have a new holiday. When was the last time we had a new holiday? And it really is about celebration. And I think about this freedom, I think about this emancipation. And I think too, we could do a ritual around this. I was thinking about this. Like, where is it in your life, where is it in my life, that hasn't gotten the message yet that I still don't have to be enslaved to, usually it's a belief, right? Or a way of being that's limiting myself. So where is it in our lives that we believe that we are not free for whatever reason? I invite you to think about that right now. And tomorrow, being the solstice, tomorrow's the first day of summer in the Northern Hemisphere. We receive more daylight tomorrow than any other day of the year. The Southern Hemisphere experiences the winter solstice, which is the shortest amount of sunlight for the year. So in this beautiful earth that we have, no matter if we're in the Northern Hemisphere or in the Southern Hemisphere, we're still on this one planet. We just have different experiences. So I'd like to suggest, and I do this to scratch my own itch, to think about a place where you're ready to let go. Think about a place where you're ready to be emancipated. Think about a thought, a limiting belief that you have, that you're ready to let go. And maybe tomorrow sometime get out in the sunshine and whatever that is that's limiting you, take a moment and send it to the sun. You can send it to the sun, whatever it is that's no longer serving you, and it can burn up and transform into light that comes back to the earth, that nourishes the earth. It's a great ritual to do. It's a great meditation to do. Father's Day. Here's my history, my history coming out again. It was 1909, and a young woman wanted to honor her father. Her name was Sonora Smart Dodd, and she lived in Spokane, Washington. And she was sitting in church, listening to a Mother's Day sermon, and she decided she wanted to designate a day for her dad, William Jackson Smart. And that's why we celebrate Father's Day today. Because back in 1909, she had this idea. So she created that day. Spiritual beings. I'm going to talk about spiritual beings and the idea of being emancipated from thoughts or anything that doesn't serve us. I have an Ernest Holmes quote that I want to read. Dr. Holmes said, "We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete emancipation from from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all. The advancement of the human race will take place just as rapidly as the human race perceives its freedom. The end of evolution is to produce liberty under law." So how do we do this? How do we get completely emancipated? has to do with remembering who we are, with waking up. This philosophy is a teaching philosophy. It's not a preaching philosophy. This philosophy teaches us who we are, and we are the thing itself. We are the way God looks back at itself. And this idea of being spiritual beings, we really truly are spiritual beings having a human experience. What was this other part? It was the idea of being a spiritual being is about transcending this humanness. It's about transcending the limitations of the humanness that we have and stepping in and waking up and living from our God self. That is uninhibited and eternal and expansive. But how do spiritual beings live? I'm going to tell you. Spiritual beings realize and live in the eternal now presence. Spiritual beings are passionate in the process of living, but detached to the outcome. Spiritual beings flow with the flow of the universe without resistance. Spiritual beings embody unity and live in integrity. Spiritual beings embody goodness and live in gratitude. Spiritual beings embody love and live in compassion. Spiritual beings embody the law and easily forgives oneself and others. Spiritual beings know that he or she or they are the essence, but not the allness of God. Spiritual beings have a profound, holy respect for all of life and all people. Spiritual beings have a reverence for life. Spiritual beings live in a divine individual. And lastly, spiritual beings are awake. They're awake to his, her, or their true nature and commits to the journey towards full enlightenment. So I would ask you, as you were listening to those, being a spiritual being, where is it that you're showing up like this? And I celebrate that. I honor that in you because I know most of you, and you show up that way. And I honor that in you. So, in closing, I do have to say, I'm not sure how the drag show wove its way through all of this.
Freedom.
Freedom. Yes, and you know, I have to say, maybe. I just got choked up. My dad always said to me, don't give your power away. He always said, don't give your power away. And that is about freedom. Because when we stand in our power, and we don't give the power out there to somebody else or anything else, we stand in our power. Thanks, Dad. That was unexpected. Okay, I think we should pray. Actually, I have a poem. I'm going to read a poem, and then we'll go into prayer. This is called God's Will. An airplane sputters, then falls from the sky, 98 die in a collective sigh, it's God's will. A terrible flood, but all are saved by rescuers strong, fearless, and brave, it's God's will. A child is starved and beaten, and they bury her deep. And among the anguish and the cries, it's God's will. But a little one found, he isn't quite dead. People think heaven, and then of course said it's God's will. The greatest good or the greatest ill, why don't you know? It's all God's will. God's will is the phrase they mindlessly use. So no matter what happens, that God can't lose. Millions can suffer in earth's darkest holes, yet millions keep saying that God's in control. It's time to wake up. It's time to open our eyes. We are the ones who are responsible for who lives and who dies. It's not God's will that creates all the fuss, because how does God act except through us? We are responsible. We are the ones. God will not act. God will not intervene. It's up to us to clean up the scene. We are the ones who can end all the pain and bring peace to earth by believing that we can. God's will is a slogan that prevents us from growing. It keeps us in bondage and stops us from knowing that we have the power to make things right, to end the fear and bring warmth to the night. So let's claim our dominion and consciousness filled by proclaiming the truth that we are God's will. So let's pray. That eternal presence, that eternal right now-ness of love and life and joy and beauty and wisdom and abundance, for I know it is God and it is good, and good is life-affirming and life-forward. And I know that there is just one thing happening here, and that is God. So I speak my word on behalf of each person here this morning, each person hearing my voice, that we are awakened, that we are woken up, that we are the way God acts. We are the way God is. We are the thing itself. We are that God's will. And we go about our lives being spiritual beings, being awake with love and compassion and ultimate freedom. Freedom to express our good. Freedom to express God. Freedom to let it be all right, to be all right. So I release it and I let it go with a grateful heart. And please join with me in saying, and so it is.
We can change the world if we want to. We can change it all if we want. Sing with me, we can be 6 feet apart. We'll bow our heads and honor that which is greater than we are. Take the pain inside your heart and give it to the light. Together we're better, so let yourself remember that tonight. Because we can change the world if we want to. We can change it all if we want. change the world if we want to.
The amazing Jessie Powers. So now is the time for the giving of our gifts. Thank you for all of the ways that you have continued to give to the center, especially during these times. We are honored to be able to continue to support you spiritually, and we appreciate your gifts, your tithes, and everything that you give. Your donations are important because it helps us fulfill our vision statement that creates a world that works for every person. We engage with the law of circulation, and we remember that God is our source, and we are simply circulating Spirit's energy in the form of money by giving and receiving. So please say our affirmation with me. My gift goes forth to heal and bless and prosper. It does its good and perfect work, and returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
We're going to sing each and every day. The words are easy. Each and every day I know I'm going to share some love. We do that 3 times. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Next verse, each and every day I'm going to share some joy. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Each and every day I'm going to share some light. Love, joy, light.
Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some love. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some love. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some love. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Joy. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some joy. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some joy. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some joy. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some light. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some light. Each and every day I know I'm gonna share some light. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
There's but one abundant source in this universe. Limitless abundance and unconditional love are its gifts, so freely given, for it's its nature to give, to provide way beyond need. I am one with this goodness and plenty, heaped up in overflowing abundance. The riches of the universe flow endlessly through, around, and in all those things which the Creator brought forth, and those things are right here and right now. I realize these gifts of being eternal, endless, fulfilling, and loving. I claim that our abundance comes through the abundance of God in all things. I open the door of abundance, and I allow its gifts to flow freely in and through our center. With grateful gratitude and unstopping flow, I release it into the law that has already said yes, as I receive and accept these gifts, knowing that the channels have been opened and are freely flowing, for it is already done. I let go and I let God. And please, together we sing.
So we'd like to take a minute and thank everyone that came out today in person for one of our in-person services this summer. I'd like to thank practitioner Tammy Evans for assisting this morning on the platform. Thank you to Jesse Powers for playing. Amazing guest musician. Thank you to our song leaders, last minute song leaders. Thanks to Dad and Mac Ware and Dave Scarborough. And a special thank you to Steve, who stepped up, stepped in, arranged the music, and band leader. And thank you, Bob and Andrew, for being our guest musicians. Takes a lot to put this on. Thank you, Matt, for live streaming to Facebook. Thank you to Robin and Ann for doing the slides. Thank you to Margie for being an usher. And thank you, Julie Colburn, for being our service coordinator, our end-all, be-all, do-all. She's the glue that holds all this together.
And Rob for doing our sound.
And Rob, I'm sorry, yes, thank you, Rob. Thanks, Josie. So if you're joining us for the first time today, we will not point at you. This is kind of a joke, like we won't point at you or ask you to raise your hand unless you want to. But we do have some information for you, so if you want to see you want to see Julie, or probably Jessie, on the way out, she's got some information for you. And if you're watching online and you're with us for the first time and you'd like some information, you can call the office or send us a private Facebook message and we'll get a packet of information out to you in the snail mail. So, that is our service for today. Please say our blessing with me. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. And so it is.
Look at the person next to you. Say, I love you and I love you too. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. Come together. We come together. We come together. We come together. Come together. In the name of love. Dance break. Take a look at the person next to you. Say namaste out loud to you. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together.